Most portrait photographers making six figures aren't more talented than you. They're not in richer markets and they don't own better gear. The proof for that is I've personally sold $50,000 orders with a single camera and lens. And it's not just me. Thousands of photographers have done the same. So what makes us different from other photographers who might even be more talented, but are struggling to make a living wage, let alone six figures? Well, we just have a different business model. I call mine the boutique portrait model, where you guide a few right fit clients to beautiful wall art for their homes instead of handing over an online gallery and hoping they buy. And listen, the photographers with bad business models usually have 5 specific mistakes in common that prevent them from ever hitting six figures. By the way, if you don't know who I am, I'm Sarah Petty, founder of the Photography Business Institute. I have run my own boutique portrait studio for 28 years. I've sold over $3 million in portraits myself, and I've helped over 33,000 photographers build profitable family-first businesses. And today I'm walking you through all 5 mistakes, starting with the one costing you the most. Mistake number 1, and the one costing you the most, is selling out of your own wallet. Early on, my husband Joe and I were brand new parents, both starting businesses. We had a mortgage, we had newborn twin babies, and 12-year-old vehicles. We furnished our house by refinishing old furniture. I didn't spend much on new clothes for myself. I just made what I had to do. And then one day I sat down with a mom to order her daughter's senior portraits. She wasn't wealthy. She was a normal mom just like me. And she kept adding wall art to her order, more and more and more. And in my head, I panicked. I thought, this is more than my mortgage. She's going to freak out. She can't afford this. She's going to melt down on me when she sees the total. She'll be mad at me. She'll tell everyone. My reputation will be ruined. And people are going to realize I'm a fraud, that she had a terrible experience. Even though she's sitting in front of me telling me she loves every single image, I'm sure I'll be ruined. So I started talking her out of the very portraits she was telling me she loved, just so I would feel more comfortable with the total. Then, with her small little order, I walked them out to the parking lot where her daughter climbed into a car way nicer than mine. That's when it hit me. I was spending her money for her based on my fears and my head trash. So hear me on this. When that voice says, this is too much, that's not a client problem. That's a belief problem, and it's the biggest head trash hurdle that we clear for our students, literally daily. So if your client tells you in the planning consultation that they want $15,000 worth of wall art in their home, your job is not to shrink the plan because you feel uncomfortable with the number. Your job is to serve them at the level they told you they wanted. Here's the math that changes everything. If you build the $15,000 plan and they invest $8,000, that's still a beautiful order. And that's a well-served client. But if you shrink it to $5,000 or $2,000 before they ever see it because you're uncomfortable, you just took away their chance to say yes to what they already asked for. Change your language while you're at it too, my friend. They're not buying photos or pictures. They're investing in artwork. Say it with me, artwork. In wall portraits, in heirlooms, in pieces they're going to love more in 20 years than they do today. And if you have a system, trust the system. You did the planning consultation. You listened, you planned, you painted the vision. That's where the selling already happened. And at the ordering appointment, you're not selling anymore. You're just showing the beautiful options. Here's exactly what that sounds like. Okay, my friend, here's what I created based on everything we talked about. I'm going to show you the pieces I think are strongest for the spaces we planned. Then we'll look at everything together, and if we need to cut back, we absolutely can. Then when you get to the total, stay calm. Don't talk past the close. Don't apologize. Don't make it smaller before they ask. Present it and hold space for them to do the decision making and the calculations in their head. And if they say, whoa, that's more than I really was expecting, you say, hey, no problem at all. Let's look at where we can cut because I want to help you get the pieces that matter the most. I'd rather you have fewer, stronger pieces of art than just cutting everything down. Build the plan, photograph for it, and let the client decide what they value. Don't spend their money for them before they ever get the chance. But letting them decide only works when you know what each order is really worth, which is mistake number 2. And that's not knowing your numbers. I can spot this in 30 seconds with one question. What's your average order? If you can't answer that fast, you can't run a profitable business. That is the diagnostic number that tells you how many clients you have to hit your income goal and whether you can grow without photographing more sessions. And then get really honest about what an order really keeps, because most photographers look at a $1,500 order and think $1,500. But that's not what's left. If you're priced correctly in the boutique model, your cost of sales stays around 25%. And really, I want my students closer to 20%. So on that $1,500 order, your direct production costs, we call it COGS, which is your lab, your packaging, your retouching labor, ideally comes in less than $375, which leaves you about $1,125. Now layer on overhead, your time for the planning consultation, the session itself, the ordering appointment, software, studio expenses, marketing, insurance, taxes. By the time all of that gets absorbed, you're looking at $600 to $900 in real owner take home. And if you're underpriced or you over retouch and over edit the order, it gets ugly fast. That's why the average order question matters. Because if you don't know that number cold, you have no idea whether each session is paying you or paying you to lose. I had a student named Amy. On paper, her business looked healthy. She had her accounting software. The reports were all there, but she wasn't entering every number herself. So she was seeing totals and not details. Honestly, most photographers don't go deeper than that because the work of really digging in line by line feels really heavy. Amy's word for it was yucky. She told me digging into her numbers was super hard and yucky. Then she said the line that changed how she ran her whole business. She said, but it's not nearly as yucky as not knowing where the money went. So she started watching her numbers like a hawk. Every sale, even a $95 one, went into the spreadsheet that day. And then she took a hard look at every single expense. And here's what she found. She was being double charged on some things. Her card processor was overcharging her. There were quiet leaks in the business, and she plugged them. And looking at the details, it didn't just save her money, it pushed her to go find more business instead of guessing at what was wrong. Her results, she finished the year up $21,000 over the year before. Her net income jumped from 35% to 48%, and she did all of that while paying $1,700 a month in new rent she didn't have the year before. 6-month revenue just over $100,000. And Amy said it best. If you take the time to find all of the leaky holes in your money boat, you're really making money while you're doing it. So do I. That's what knowing your numbers does. But your numbers only help if you've got the focus to act on them, which is mistake number 3. Context switching. You know what I'm talking about, right? Because here's the thing photographers underestimate. A session and an ordering appointment completely use opposite sides of your brain. A session is fast, creative, emotional. You have to bring energy to it. You're reading light, posing people, coaxing real reactions out of a toddler who maybe doesn't want to be there. The ordering appointment is the opposite. It's calm. It's strategic. It's all business. Marketing pulls a third kind of energy entirely. Admin pulls a fourth. Your brain can't flip between all of these on command throughout a day. Nobody's can. So when your day becomes a session, you're editing some, you're making a sales presentation, you're returning a text, you're ordering frames, you're retouching, you're marketing, you're doing your bookwork, you're panicking. Every single switch costs you. You're trying to be a marketer, an artist, a salesperson, a bookkeeper, a retoucher, and a client concierge all in the same hour. Your brain stops to ask, where was I? The reset steals your time, and worse, it steals your creative energy and your confidence. You know when you run into the other room to grab something and then you go, what did I even come in here for? You know what I'm talking about. And here's where this hurts your money specifically. When you're scattered, when your follow-ups sit too long and warm clients go cold, when your brain is tired, it picks comfort. You scroll instead of call. You discount instead of hold your price. You avoid the appointment prep because it feels heavy. And worst of all, the focus work that actually grows your business never happens because client work always screams the loudest. The fix is what I call chunky monkey. What this means is you chunk your day with blocks instead of being scattered all day. Email gets checked first thing and end of day, not every time it dings, and turn off the dinger. A protected retouching block instead of retouching between every other action that you're taking. It's how I run my own days and weeks. Mondays are for marketing and money. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I do sessions in the morning. I do presentations in the afternoon. Friday mornings are for finishing for follow-ups, and I'm finishing up my marketing. I'm planning for my family for the weekend because it's family first. And I'm also working on my Dream 100, my partners, people that I want to work with in my photography business. Those are things that move my business forward without breaking my focus because I plan time for them. The goal isn't a perfect calendar. It's a calendar that keeps me from context switching by chunking out my time and making sure that the money-making work happens before the busy work eats away at my day. By the way, if you're getting value from this, subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. It's quick 5-minute read with strategies like these to grow your portrait business. I'm going to stick the link in the description below because I love you. I can tell it already. Mistake number 4, my friend, is treating your business like a hobby instead of a real business. And it hides in plain sight because it doesn't feel like a mistake at all. It feels like a passion. And listen, I don't mean you're not serious about your craft. I mean you're running reactive, doing whatever you feel like hour by hour with no real plan for how your days are built. I learned this framework that fixed this years ago from Dan Sullivan through a program called Strategic Coach. He teaches entrepreneurs how to organize their workdays into 3 kinds of time. For those of us building businesses while raising kids, you can organize your day by the half hour or the hour if you have to, instead of day by day. Same principle, smaller blocks. So focus time is when you're working on the business. You've got childcare lined up and your calendar time is fully protected. Second is buffer time. That's for catch up, admin, client communication, the things that move your focus time forward so that you can do productive activities. And then free time are the days that you're 100% not working on your business. And you actually need to plan for that too, my friend, so you can rest without the guilt. Inside that focus and buffer time, you build specific blocks. You build client-facing blocks for your planning consultations, your sessions, and your ordering appointments. You have production blocks for culling, retouching, ordering, packaging, delivery. You have marketing blocks for your Dream 100, your gift cards, your notes of joy, and any campaign that you're running. A hobbyist doesn't protect those blocks. They just start in reactive mode, taking what's coming at them. But think about it. If you have a session at the park at 3, you show up for that session at the park at 3, right? Your focus time, your marketing time, and your production blocks all deserve a spot on your calendar too. So give them that same respect. For me, this got real when I committed to regular childcare for 2.5 days a week. We did not have spare money for it, so I needed to bring in revenue during that time. So I sat down and I asked the question that changed everything. What do I have to make from each client to cover not only the childcare, but to have profit, right? To make it worth my time. And suddenly I wasn't playing anymore. I figured out the number and it was bigger than I thought it was going to be. My student Joni lived this exact shift. She came to us as a pure hobbyist. No system, no price list, no legal foundation. She was just taking pictures whenever someone reached out. Here's what changed. She got her LLC set up. She built a professional price list, and instead of handing clients a gallery link and a folder of digital files, she put a real selling and serving process in place. Here's how Joni described what actually shifted for her. She said, I just needed to feel like I had set my business up professionally so people would take me seriously. And these processes put that in place for me. People finally took her seriously because she finally took herself seriously. Now, this brings me to the last mistake, the one I hear most often. Mistake number 5 is thinking you need a better studio and better gear before you can raise your prices, or at the minimum charge what you need to charge to be profitable. I lived this. Early on, someone in the park had a nicer camera than mine, and I felt like a fraud. But the gear doesn't make you a professional. How you make your client feel and what you do with the camera you've got, that's what does. So when a photographer says, I just have to upgrade my camera and then I'll raise my prices, here's what I hear. I don't believe in myself yet, and that has nothing to do with the camera. Am I right? So listen, I've sold $50,000 orders with one camera and one lens. So if you're $2,000 into a fancy lighting kit you don't need, sell it. Put that money into learning how to serve a client at a high level and creating enough value so they want to invest in beautiful artwork for their home. That will fulfill you in a way that a perfect file on a hard drive never, ever will. Here's what ties all 5 together. None of these 5 things is about your talent. Every single one is about your belief and how you run your business. The photographers that I coach making 6 figures aren't more gifted than you. They've just stopped making these mistakes and spinning their wheels. So listen, if you see yourself in at least one of these and you want help fixing them, that's what my team is here for. Click the link in the description and book a free call with my team. We'll take a look at where you are, where you want to be, and how you can get there faster.